Now, can we test for the existence of God? If God allows himself to become subject to experiments, then why can't we build a machine that will detect God's presence? Well, God is person, and persons have to choose what it is that they're going to reveal of themselves to someone else. If they choose not to reveal themselves for whatever reason, then we're not going to be able to find out what it is that they have to say. I can dissect you. I can take a knife to your body, cut your chest open, pull all of your innards out in an attempt to discern whether or not you like to watch the Three Stooges. But ultimately, my dissection of you, my vivisection of you, is not going to tell me that. The best way for me to find out if you are interested in this particular subject, the Three Stooges, is for you to reveal yourself to me, for you to talk to me and tell me that. And God is a person. God is in the same situation. He has to choose to reveal himself, and we are not going to necessarily even be able to determine it on our own. Consider Thomas again, or any of the apostles, or any of the people who walked with Jesus. They did not detect him as God for quite some time. Why is that? Why couldn't they determine who God was when they met him face to face? Well, think about this. We are finite, right? We have limits. We learn things through our senses, and through meditation on what we have experienced. Okay? So we're finite creatures. We learn things through our senses and through what? Through meditation on what we have experienced. Now, let us say that we encountered God. All right? God, by definition, is infinite. So, when we encounter God, what happens to our senses? Our senses fill up instantly with the encounter with him. And even though there's infinitely more of him to experience, we are unable to experience it, or him, because there's no more of us available. We wouldn't be able to identify God if he stood in front of us necessarily, because we are too limited to manage it. There is no experiment that you could compose that would allow you to detect infinity. It can't be done. So if you can't build an instrument that would detect infinity in the physical universe, and you can't, then why would you expect yourself to be able to build an instrument that can detect the infinity of God? It doesn't make any sense to even make the demand. Demanding that God subject himself to some kind of physical test is irrational, to put it quite bluntly. It just doesn't make any sense on investigation. Now, there are some who use this fact that God is not easily experimentally tested for, and they say, well, if you can't detect God in any useful way, then how do you know that God, the God of the Christians, even exists? Why can't we all become what are called pastafarians, believing that there's a great pasta god made of spaghetti and meatballs, and we are touched by his noodly appendage? How can I distinguish between the pastafarian, the God of the pastafarians, and the Christian God? This is a most excellent question. It's a very good question, and it needs to be answered. Why is it that Christians do not accept Allah, that Christians do not accept the pastafarian God? They don't accept Islam's version of God. They don't accept the Wiccan version of God. Why is it that none of these are acceptable? Because we have, as I pointed out in the last video, we have witnesses. We have people who were willing to die in the Old Testament because they knew that they had encountered God. And among the Jews, the God of the Jews, who is the same as the God of the Christians. Among the Hebrews, we have the prophets. And the prophets were almost all killed for having witnessed to God And, in fact, they knew they were going to be killed. But they did it anyway. Why would anyone do that? The same goes in the New Testament among the Christians, who are also Hebrews. We have the apostles and those who followed him. These were people who had met someone they believed to be God, personally walked with him for years, talked with him. They knew him. They all of these people, the apostles, the prophets, they all wrote down their accounts. The entire Hebrew people witnessed the miracles and wrote them down. Now, maybe you don't believe in miracles. We can go into that. We'll talk about miracles in another video, about why it's not irrational to believe in miracles, why it's a perfectly rational thing to do. But the fact is that we have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of witnesses who saw Yahweh work in the Old Testament, who saw Jesus work in the New Testament, who saw the resurrection. And because of those witnesses, we have a certainty, we have evidence at a level that is not matched in any other faith tradition. This is why, ultimately, the Pastafarian argument falls apart, because the Pastafarians have no sacred scripture, and anyone who attempts to write such a sacred scripture would be lying, and I doubt that anyone would die for that lie. But these people were willing to die, testifying that they really saw what they really saw. You can discount that, you can make fun of it, but you can't deny that this is what they witnessed, or at least this is what they witnessed too. And that, I think, requires of us a certain level of honor towards them and a certain level of honesty towards them, to throw away their witness testimony without any evidence of our own, except that we don't like it, is a huge disservice and a dishonoring of them. To call someone a liar without any evidence except the fact that you don't like what they witnessed is a tremendous difficulty and a commentary on us more than it is a commentary on them. That having been said, thank you for listening to this video, and I hope to hear from you again.